Okay, so now we have our vectorized mask created here, which I've just saved as a temporary file, and it just has the name vectorized, right? So now we need to clip all of our 9 data layers from heat all the way down to the original DEM. We need to clip them, and we need to ensure a couple of things: that they all have the same extent and that they all have the same no data value, which I'm going to set to negative 9,999. I need to do this so that when I create a single data set from all of these variables, everything will align properly. So I could, one at a time, clip each of these 9, or my better option, excuse me here, is to go up to raster, extraction, and clip raster by mask layer. So we're going to use the vectorized data that we've just created as our mask layer. And before filling any of this out, down here on the bottom, click on Run as Batch Process. So in this window, I'm going to be able to set up a single command that will clip all 9 of my data here. So to do that, under my input layer, I'm going to click on this ellipsis and go to Select from Open Layers, and I'm going to select all of my input variables. So distance to water, heat, temperature, not temp. Remember, that's the raster layer where 1 was inside the park and no data was outside the park. Aspect, roughness, ruggedness, slope, the topographic index, and vegetation, and then click on OK. Yeah. So now they have shown up each with their own row. Okay. So I'm going to mask each of them with the same vectorized layer. So to do that, I'm going to click on this ellipsis, select from open layers. I only have one vector data set open, so I will click on OK. And go to autofill and fill down. So it fills all of that space in. Now, it already knows my coordinate reference system, and I'm not changing my target reference system, so I can leave all of that blank. But here under Select a Specified No Data Value to Output Bands, that needs to be the same all the way down. So I'm going to highlight that and just type in negative 9,999, and then go up to Autofill and select Fill Down. So that will fill that all the way out. The only other thing that I need to change here, yeah, alpha bands we don't need, the extent to something else. We're going to leave the extent to the clipped layer. Resolution doesn't need to change because they all have the same resolution. The only thing we have to change then is that it needs an output name under here, clipped, and mask. And obviously these need to be unique, right? So I'll click on this first ellipsis, back over here all the way over to the left. My first variable here is the distance to water. So I'm going to click on this first ellipsis, and I have created inside my folder where I'm saving all these data, I've created a folder called Use, which is where I'm going to dump all of the data that I'm going to open up in R in order to create this model. I'm going to call this water. I want to make sure that this is saved as a .tiff, and I will hit save. And OK. So that has provided that value. Now I'm going to click on autofill and say fill down, but obviously I can't leave it this way because if I do, it's just going to keep overwriting, right? So I'm going to jump over here to the left. After water, I have heat, then my elevation, and then aspect. So I'm going to call this heat, and this elevation, and this aspect. And under aspect, I had roughness, ruggedness, and slope. So this will be rough, this will be rugged, this will be slope, and then my last two were the topographic index and vegetation. So this I will call TPI, and this I will call vegetation. Okay. So when I hit run now, this will load, well, it will clip all of these data to the right extent and save them in the right place. So if I click on run, 5 are done, 6 are done, 7, 8, 9, they're all done, and I hit click on close, and here under my use folder, I now have all of those data. I could have added them on here onto QGIS if I had wanted, but I just need to know where they're saved. So we have clipped all of these data. We can now create a virtual stack, which I will show you in the next video, and then open everything up in R.